Hello, good people of DSST, and welcome to a lecture on static electricity. I hope that you're doing well. So the first thing that I want to talk about with static electricity is what we mean when we say static. If you remember from earlier this year when we talked about static friction, that was friction when things didn't move. And similarly, static electricity isn't with the flow of current or moving electrons. Static electricity is when things aren't moving, right? And so if we look real quick at this next slide, and we see that this people's hair is raising right when they're about to get struck by lightning, the charge is building up on their heads. So that's static. It's not moving or forward, anything like that. So what are the laws that we talk about when we talk about static electricity? The first is that only the electrons move, right? And so when you were using your simulation with the ball or with the balloon and the sweater, I hope you saw that you were able to move all the negative charged particles onto the balloon, but the positively charged particles stayed the same. So electrons are those negatively charged particles, and we can build them up on balloons or other objects, but we can't necessarily move protons, right? We can only move negative charges. And then when we have those negative charges together, we notice that those negative, if you have two things that are negatively charged, they repel. So that brings us to our kind of first rule, is that like charges always repel. And so here we have two balloons that are negatively charged, and you can see there's a force there, right? It'd be like a force like gravity. It could be like you pulling the balloons apart or something like that with a force actually holding them apart. And so if we have similar charges, we know that repel, and that would lead you to guess that if we had different charges, they attract. So you can try this at home if you brush your hair. You can see that you put negative electrons on you put electrons on the comb which have a negative charge, and that'll pull the water toward that comb, right? And so even though this doesn't have the water doesn't have a positive charge, right? It has an equal number of negatives as positives, it will pull this water toward the comb because the comb has a negative charge. Okay, and finally, when we talk about forces, we talk about the force depends on distance, right? And so if we actually drew out the forces and what they looked like right here, we could see that this force is very small in comparison to how large this force is, because these two objects are much farther apart. And so when we talk about force, things that are close together will either be really attracted to each other or really repelled from each other. And if they're far away, that force dwindles. I hope this helps you with your module. Please ask your teacher if you have any more help. Thank you very much.